infertility.com.
Ashley Stars and Stripes sale is going on now, and everything is on sale. Get unbelievable deals on hot buys up to 50% off. This summer, spend less and get more. Only at Ashley.
Feels good to be home.
June happens to be Men's Health Month, so it's a great time for us to always have a visit with Catherine Needham with Cycle Balance. And this morning she'll talk a little bit to the women out there who are looking to have a baby, but you can't have a baby without a man. So it's Men's Health Month, and we're going to talk to them too. So good to see you.
Thank you for having me back.
So we'll just get the delicacies out of the way. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
So in my day, when I had my first daughter, we knew we wanted to start a family. So going and making sure everything was healthy and strong and ready to go was a big part of it.
Yeah.
You still are recommending that for women, getting a preconception check, if you will.
I mean, there's really no harm in just knowing where you stand. There are certain labs that can be drawn any point in a menstrual cycle. There are some that have to be drawn on cycle day 3, but really we can draw all the labs on cycle day 3 just so you're just going once to get the one puncture, and we can assess your ovarian reserves, basically how many healthy eggs you have hanging around, making sure everything looks good there. We can also have an idea of how easily you'll ovulate based on some labs, and then every once in a while there's a hormone called prolactin that if it's really, really elevated, that can actually indicate usually a benign tumor, but in the brain, and we want to make sure that that gets treated so that you can ovulate and then move on to have a healthy kiddo. And then for the men, we want to make sure that they get screened not only for hormonal abnormalities, because they can have similar issues to women, not for ovulation, of course, but just to make sure that their cells are healthy as well via lab work. And then a specimen can also be collected to make sure that everything looks good. There's not any physical anomaly.
Right.
To make sure that everybody's healthy.
So when you are talking though about like getting checked on day 3 and that type of thing,
yes,
is that for all women or just women who may have struggled with a miscarriage in the past, or they just think they might have some fertility issues?
I think it depends on your level of concern. To your point, if you've always had normal periods at regular intervals, you might not be as concerned and have that as early in your trying to conceive process. But if you're somebody who's had irregular cycles, or maybe you're a little bit older when you're first trying to conceive, those would be good candidates to have drawn on cycle day 3. And these are not labs that are typically very expensive. They're very common labs to have drawn. So it's an economical way to just see where you stand.
It's amazing what you can know now about your cycle that didn't used to exist, because there are apps you can have on your phone that chart everything. Do you find that that's beneficial to women, or have we come to a point where we almost know too much?
Well, I think that having more information is always empowering. You always want to know as much about yourself as possible. With some of the cycle charting apps, I think we rely on them rather and have them lead us to find our ovulation window. Versus letting us lead the app. Like I don't mind the app's insight, but I want to verify it with what I know to be true and have those two things align. Versus
you're smarter than a robot, right?
Well, and I think that every woman can be. I think that every woman can learn enough about their body to predict and confirm ovulation so that they are verifying what they believe to be true about their fertile window with an app versus having to rely on the app to tell them information. Some apps are, I can certainly see how they could lead to like analysis paralysis, just because it's a lot of really interesting data. I love data. I think it's fascinating, but I can see that to a typical consumer that might not be what they're looking for.
Right.
But anytime a woman can learn more about her health and it puts it in her hands, I think that's fantastic for the woman.
So you actually were the woman who took charge of her own knowledge to then have your children. So I think it is an interesting twist of how life can work. Obviously you have the scientific mind, but you walked the walk that so many women are going through now.
Yes.
And you found success.
I sure did. And I am so grateful that now, 9 or 10 years later, after we were initially trying to have a baby, the conversation around fertility is different. The knowledge base is, we have so much more access to information, and I think that can only be beneficial for women to try to conceive. And I really value that women overall are trying to learn more about their health to get at root causes and not just assume that everything's okay and that we have to rely on more intense interventions, even though those are completely necessary.
Right.
I really value the change in the discussion around it.
It's interesting what happens in that 10-ish year spread of time, because I think that young women, and I'll say young meaning even like high school teenagers to mid-20s, have one philosophy of what they kind of want for their lives, and then you look into your 30s and it's a little bit different, but it seems like younger women today are wanting to make sure that they don't wait long to start a family. Are you seeing that? That they are afraid that they're going to get too far down the road and fertility might become an issue for them. And
I also see the flip side where women have put everything in place to have successful lives, and they're like, okay, I did everything in the right order, we're successful, we're financially ready, and then they find themselves in their early 30s. Right. And now they're trying to decipher things. So I see both on a regular basis, but I certainly do see women who are in their mid-20s who are like, I don't know that I want to conceive like in the next year necessarily, but I do want to make sure that I'm healthy. They want peace of mind. They do. And who doesn't? I mean, I wish I would have thought about that earlier. Right. So back to the idea of like the app and how sometimes you might have analysis paralysis, as you said. Sometimes too much information can be a difficult thing, because if you don't have the knowledge coming into it to decipher it, you might be misled. So for anybody watching, and maybe there's a 33-year-old watching who's thinking there's just not much hope, if you'll just break it down, and that's what you love to do, it is. You fight to find that hope. I certainly do, and to me there is no, like, we will find an explanation, even if it's a combination of factors, and we attack each and every single one. I just really feel passionately about, like, I can be that ally with you to tell you, yes, there is all this information and that is power, but let me tell you what parts of it apply to you specifically, what changes we need to make for you specifically. Yes, XYZ can happen in certain situations, but let me tell you why that does or doesn't apply for you based on your health history. So when you go to meet with her, you'll have a hard time when you're talking to your friends or your mom or whatever, you'll have a hard time saying, she's just so nice, but she just knows so much, but she's just so nice. But she just kind of has it all. So you'll find her. It's Catherine Needham with Cycle Balance. Virtual appointments, making it very easy for your scheduling. There's her website. That's the easiest way to find her. And then, of course, on Instagram. Thank you. Thank you so much.
At the Chattanooga Men's Clinic, we've seen the negative effects that ED can inflict on relationships. But once you come in, there's no greater joy experiencing restored intimacy that can change your life. Did you know our patients average 3 failures with pills and other places before they see us? Let's stop the pattern of failure together. If you're serious about treating your ED, call us and we'll show you why for a decade our team has been #1 in Tennessee for men's health. Call 423-402-9720 or go to ChattanoogaMen'sClinic.com.
Lowercase b. Use a strong password.
Trying to remember a strong password is hard. Hiring Morgan & Morgan for your injury is easy.
Too many attempts.